The Ruy Lopez is one of the most powerful opening for white played by many grandmasters, and many players still don't know how to play the Ruy Lopez, and when their opponent plays this opening, they don't know how to respond correctly and end up losing. But don't worry, in this video, I have covered all the popular variations, and later I will show you some amazing traps that you can use to trick your opponents. So the Ruy Lopez start with the move e4 e5, knight f3, knight c6, and then white goes bishop to b5. White's idea is to put long-term pressure, and white is also threatening to take this knight, which is defending the e5 pawn. Here, what most of the white players do is that after a6, they take this knight, and then they think that they have won the e5 pawn and they are completely winning. But this is a bad move because after queen e7, let's say you defend with d4, white can play f6, and then you are forced to move your knight away, and then black can take this pawn with check, and after you block with the queen, white can take this queen, and when you recapture, white can develop all his pieces quickly, and this position is quite better for black. The engine is also giving a minus 1.5 advantage for the black pieces. So this is something you need to keep in mind while playing the Ruy Lopez. Now let me show you the common variations that can occur in the Ruy Lopez. After a6, you go bishop a4, and then white goes knight f6. This is the Morphy Defense. After that you castle here, and here there are two main lines. First is when knight takes this pawn, it's the open Ruy Lopez, or there is bishop to e7, which is the closed Ruy Lopez. Well, if he goes knight takes e4, then you can play d4, striking the center. White goes b5, bishop moves back, d5, defending this knight. D takes e5, and after that, you can develop your pieces, and black can also castle here and develop his pieces. But here the main move is bishop e7, which is the closed variation. You go rook e1, defending this pawn, b5, bishop moves back, and here you go with c3, creating an escape square for the bishop, and also preparing d4. Let's say you play knight to a5, then you can move the bishop back, and after black goes d6, you are ready to play d4 and strike in the center. But what d6 does is that it opens up this bishop, so before pushing d4, you have to play h3. Now let me show you one of the most popular response by black, which is knight to f6. You can just castle. And here there are some popular lines. If black takes this pawn, then you can play rook to e1, knight goes back, hitting the bishop. But you ignore this and play knight takes e5. If he takes the bishop, then knight takes is a discovered attack, and you just win the queen. Therefore here, you have to play bishop e7. And then you can take this knight, and after black recaptures, you can play bishop to f1, and you can continue playing. Here in the Berlin defense, there is a popular line, and start with after knight takes e4, d4, black moves his knight back, and then you take this knight, black recaptures, then you go d takes e5, knight moves, and then you take the queen, black recaptures, and here white have a lead in development, and black have lost his right to castle, but he have the bishop there, which can be quite useful in this open game. But generally, most of the games in this variation ends in a draw. Now let me show you one of the most popular responses by black, which is the classical defense bishop c5. You castle here and then knight d4, offering a trade of knights. Then you can take this knight, black recaptures with the bishop, c3 attacks the bishop, bishop moves back, d4, c6 attacking the bishop, bishop a4. Here black goes d6. Let's say white goes knight a3, black goes knight f6. You can move your bishop out, put your rooks along this open pile, and then continue to play. Here, black can also go with an early d6, defending this pawn and opening up the bishop. This is the Stenitz defense. You play d4, striking in the center. Black takes this pawn and then you recapture this with your knight, putting pressure on the knight. Black goes bishop to d7, defending the knight. Then you can develop the other bishop, and after white goes something say knight takes d4, then you can take this bishop, and after that you can take this knight and then continue to play. Now let me show you one of the solid responses which starts with the move c6. This is the fianchetto defense. Let's say white goes c3, trying to push d4, bishop g7, d4, striking in the center. And here, instead of developing a knight here, you can develop this knight the other way. Let's say after e takes d4, white recaptures, and then you can play a6, bishop moves back, b5, bishop moves further, develop the knight the other way, white castle, black also castle, and after that you can continue to play. Now let me show you the most aggressive line in the Ruy Lopez for black. After a6, bishop a4, knight f6, white castle here, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop moves back, black also castle, and after c3, here white sacrifices a pawn by playing d5, striking in the center. This is the martial attack, and this is one of the most aggressive way for black to respond against the Ruy Lopez. Black is sacrificing a pawn to open up the game and have a lead in development, and the marshal have the highest winning chances against the Ruy Lopez. So after e takes d5, black recaptures with the knight, knight takes c5, then black recaptures, rook takes, and here black goes c6, defending his knight. Let's say white goes something like d4, defending his rook. Then black can go bishop to d6, and after rook moves, white can go queen to h4, threatening mate in 1, and all his pieces are lined up on the king's side and is ready for attack. But it's not over for the white pieces. You can just play g3 and you can continue playing. Now let me show you some common traps in the Ruy Lopez which you can use to win quickly. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, you castle here, black takes this pawn, and then you go rook to e1, and here thousands of players have got d5, defending his knight, but this is a big blunder because you can play d3, knight moves back, and then you can just take this pawn with your knight, and it's over for black. You are threatening to take this knight with a discovered check and win the queen. So the best move for black is bishop e6, then you can just take this knight, black recaptures, and after bishop takes c6, knight d7, you can just take this rook, you are up an exchange, and you are completely winning. Let's move on to our next trap. After bishop e5, knight f6, you castle here, black takes this pawn, rook e1, knight d6. Here you play knight takes e5, sacrificing the bishop. But here, instead of taking the bishop, black takes your knight. You play knight c3, knight takes b5. And here you play rook takes c5, forking the knight and the rook. And after bishop e7, you don't take this knight, but instead play knight to d5, putting more pressure on the bishop. And after black castle, you can take this bishop, king h8, and then you go with this brilliant queen to h5. And here black is completely lost. The best move for the black pieces is to play g6. Let's say your opponent goes something like knight d6, then you can just sacrifice your queen, and after king takes, you can play rook to h5, checkmate. Well, I don't want to make this video so long, therefore I will bring more traps in the Ruy Lopez for both white and black in the upcoming videos. And if you don't want to miss those videos, then don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, you can check out this playlist for learning chess traps or some chess openings.